Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good evening and welcome to another week. I'm Braxton Huggins, founder of Texas Hunting Lease Listings. Super excited. Tonight we have Trent with Heart of Texas Whitetails. Trent, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. So, one of the things that I brought you on for and that I want you to talk about is, the deer breeding here in Texas specifically. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of, questions around what actually is involved, what it takes, but also from a buyer's perspective. A lot of animals are being purchased and being released or re-released back on, these big game ranches. One of the questions that I get a lot and that I see a lot is, what do we do after we've purchased an animal from a deer breeder like yourself? What are some of the recommendations that you have?
Really, I mean, as deer breeders, whenever we release deer, personally, our facility, we always make sure we release the deer either right at a pond or exiting the trailer, passing a water trough, or a water trough and a feeder combined, which is that's great. That's really kind of the most ideal thing for us. They're going to be able to find food because they're going to smell it. They're going to hear your corn feeders going off. They're going to go mingle with your other deer. And they're always going to say you have a fence. They've been in a pen, right? They're going to go find the fence and they're going to walk the fence line. So if you could temporarily fill up, like a 50-gallon in every corner, right? Every time there's an intersection, get a little bit of water there because those deer have been couch potatoes,
right?
They're going out into the wild versus the ultimate fighter. They're not going to be able to sustain and hold their water as long as the other deer that have lived out there their whole life. So I would think for us, water is the most critical thing. Food would come secondary, but again, they're couch potatoes.
So for Heart of Texas, you guys are in Brady. Obviously, we've gone through a very harsh summer drought. Did you guys take any additional measures, or did you make any recommendations for people kind of in that geographic area of how to best conserve their water, or just have a better idea of supplements, feed cycles, or feeding patterns, anything like that you would also recommend?
Absolutely. I mean, I would definitely, if you had livestock this year with, 105 plus for 2 weeks straight, and you didn't provide extra food and extra water, I'm sure you suffered some, mortalities from that. I actually, at our place, we have at the very front of the ranch, it does not have water. So the water is like over halfway back. It's probably like 40% up the ranch. So I got a IBC tote with a big hose on it, and I took 2 concrete water troughs and I set them up front, and I just constantly kept them filled. Always filling. Do I know if the animals used it? No clue, but I feel better knowing that I made the attempt.
Well, I know that there is one buck that probably was very accustomed to using it, and I want to show a quick video here. If you want to talk about this buck, please do. Absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen him, for those that have tuned in, take a look at this.
Oh yeah, Texas Cowboy.
So this is Texas Cowboy. Give us some background and tell us kind of his story.
Well, my employer, Mr. Grant Everidge, he that's actually kind of one of his homegrown bucks through artificial insemination. So one of the doe lines he created. The grandpa on the bottom side is one of the buck lines he created. And, to get this genetic masterpiece to come together is, 1 in a million. He's been deer breeding for 24 years. And again, this is a 1 in a million deer. I'll be lucky if I can grow one of this size in my tenure as a deer breeder.
Well, you guys have a lot of other bucks that are very impressive. I'll kind of just flip through these. What's the story here?
That is That is my deer. I called him Master Chief. That's a 2-year-old picture. We have the mask on him. He's sedated, and he's actually a TC1 certified deer.
Okay.
Meaning
what is a TC1 certified?
So there's two kind of classifications. You have your TC1 is basically any deer breeder starting up, and then there's TC1 certified, and certified deer. As long as I'm correct on this, they can go to, Mexico or anywhere, any other state that has open borders.
Okay.
So say if I wanted to transfer it to Kansas, and I had a buyer there, of course I could do it because he's certified.
Okay, that makes sense.
The probability of that is low, but
Sure.
We've never had a deer go to Mexico or outside of Texas, really. But there is a possibility. That's Marco. He's a 2-year-old perfect dream son. We just moved him actually in that photo to a breeder pen to be with. Probably going to put 13 does in there with him, so he can have his share. He actually damaged his beam. If you go back on that right side, on Dylan's left hand, our right, that bend upwards.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
In the back there, it's really, you can't see it, but he actually damaged his beam and caused that. There's 2 growths coming out straight back, and I'm assuming, that would have filled in with a perfect 7x7 rack, which is, that's really what I'm shooting for personally, a 7x7. That's my favorite. That's Rifleman. He's one of our new breeders that we picked up from a fella, and I've already got 14 or so does in there with him, and probably put maybe 2 or 3 more. I don't know. We don't want to overload him too much. He's a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I was about to say he's impressive for being a 3-year-old. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then obviously here's Texas Cowboy without
Texas
velvet
Cowboy.
and standing alone.
Yes, sir. He's I took that picture kneeling down in front of him during the rut. Definitely would not recommend that, but I did it and I didn't get mauled. So that's a really cool picture.
You're here to tell the story.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, we put him hard. We bred him hard with probably 20 to 25 does every single year. And I mean, the worst part about it is that we sold like 75% of the offspring because everybody came to see him and they wanted him.
Yeah.
They wanted genetics out of that.
Of course. So one of the things that comes up also outside of just relocating these animals is CWD. For those that aren't familiar with it, it is a disease that goes around for whitetail. It's detrimental. There's over 1,000 registered deer breeders here in Texas alone. How does Heart of Texas, deal with CWD, and what kind of precautions do you guys go through before selling the animal or even releasing it out onto y'all's own property? Gotcha.
Well, every deer breeder in Texas has to, as of right now, due to an emergency order by Texas Parks and Wildlife, is required before they release to do a live test on every animal that we move and sell. Now, that does not include breeder to breeder. You can transfer breeder to breeder because it's not going out of captivity. But you call in your veterinarian. We sedate the animal. They do kind of minor invasive surgery. They cut out a snit out of their rectum. And there's another option to do, and they can take a tonsil scoop and scoop out their tonsils from inside. Okay. So you could do too. And then, this is the worst case scenario. The deer dies, right? And you have to take a brain stem. So we cut them at the neck. Personally, we put it in the refrigerator for a day because it's easier to get the scoop out. Because kind of cool. And when a deer dies, 100% of deaths must be tested. Excuse me.
Okay.
Let me just turn this off.
You're popular on Facebook right now. For those that are tuned in, if you want to comment or if you have a question for Trent, you can comment down below. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment in the comment section. Maybe we can answer a few of those questions. But that's good to know kind of the processes. How can hunters and just the general public become more aware of the CWD testing process? What's involved? What does that look like? Is there resources available for just the general hunter?
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually two associations that I'm a member of: the Deer Breeders Corporation, which is covers all of the nation, and also the Texas Deer Association. And the Texas Deer Association um, not only fights for deer breeders' rights, but also private property owners' rights, because
Okay.
whenever Texas Parks and Wildlife puts this mandate on us, and then they put check zones, and oh, I forgot what it was called, but like the blackout zone in like Medina County, you're aware of
Yeah.
that. you
Yeah.
know um, that's actually very important, because there are 5 million deer in Texas
Yep.
in the wild. There's under 100,000 in deer
Yeah, I think
pens.
Texas Parks and Wildlife just announced that there was their, I guess, 2021 study is 5 million plus
Yeah.
native whitetails. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's such a huge number. And so, yes, am I against the check stations? A little bit, yes, because it's kind of invasive. Um, but, as far as like disease control and checking, is it
Yeah,
mandatory or needed? Yeah, absolutely, because they do need surveillance. But I think, to be fair, both people, deer breeders in captivity and hunters in general, need to know how to perform a CWD test
of
through
course.
the brainstem. Every deer needs to be able to be tested. Um,
Yeah.
do I think the disease is real? Yeah, it's real, but I think it's kind of overhyped a little bit.
Okay. Well, we'll kind of transition off the CWD questions. You have rifle season coming up here in, I guess, a week or so, a couple of weeks. Are you going hunting? Do you have any favorite kind of hunting memories from growing up at all?
Yeah. So I was probably 10 years old when we got our ranch. And at that time, it was low fenced. And basically, is probably one of the first, I don't know, maybe 2 months of us owning the ranch. And we went out there, just to drive around. And there was a beautiful, I'm going to call him a basket case, because he was, but he was a basket case 12 pointer. And, my dad let me take him. And, shortly after that, high fence construction started. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely that one. And then probably my second favorite would be a couple years later. I would be 16 at the time, and my sister had never killed a deer before. And we pretty much, for the most part, eradicated all of the whitetails off the property, because we wanted to bring in, high-end genetics.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but there was this elusive 4 does and 1 buck just stuck out there. I could never get, ever. And our fence was, we have like two sets of fence, really. It's like 200 acres on this side and 200 acres on that side, because that's how the property was sold.
Right.
And we kind of just, I took my sister out to the open side of the ranch, because one side got bulldozed and one side is thick scrub brush.
Okay. Yeah.
And I took my sister out there, and I just set her up, and she got a shot on a deer, and she got a really nice 10 pointer, but she also scoped herself, and we had to take her
Oh.
into town to our family friend, and they hot glued her eyebrow,
Oh
because
my
she
gosh.
totally scoped herself right before a basketball game too. It was kind of funny. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, she definitely has a story to tell. Like
Oh,
she'll
for
always
sure.
have that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you can't top that, really. You scope yourself, you get a bloody eye, and then you have to go to a basketball game the next day.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the basketball game was, they won. It was a good outcome.
I'm sure it was. I can't quite remember. I just remember
That's
that
okay.
one. That was a good one.
No, I appreciate your time. For those that are going to watch this later on, how can they get in touch with Heart of Texas Whitetails? How can they learn more about what you guys do? Is there a Facebook group, a Facebook page, a website, anything like that that they can
Yeah,
connect with you at?
absolutely. Yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's Heart of Texas Trophy Whitetails. You'll see a picture of Texas Cowboy. as the, I guess, the banner. And you're more than welcome to join. It's an open group. It's not just about us either. It's about hunting and other hunters. They can post. We've got people that post their hunts on their ranch, and really, it's just a family friendly group about hunting. We've got about 4,000 members right now. Most of it's just deer pictures of our operation, which is great. But during hunting season, everybody's posting their kills, and yays, highs, and lows. Should I kill this animal? Should I not? Let it ride, that kind of thing. And don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'll put my Snapchat out there because I'm always in the deer pens every day doing, I do deer videos all the time.
There you go.
I'm not ashamed. It's Tricky Trent 09.
Tricky Trent. Okay.
Yeah. It's my basketball name. Don't judge.
No, well, again, thanks for taking the time. And for those that are watching, if you don't have a lease yet, go to TexasHuntingLeaseListings.com. We have over 70 available properties that you can go and search and browse through. Hunting season for those that are going out with rifles right around the corner. Don't be stuck on the couch this hunting season. Go ahead and go get on a property. So until next week, appreciate it, guys.
Have a good one. Thanks.